Hey everyone, welcome back to Public Health Decoded. So far, we have discussed probability sampling in our previous video. Here in this video, we will study non probability sampling and its various types along with its description. So, in probability sampling, as we have already seen, where every individual has a known chance of being selected. Next part is the non-probability sampling. Participants are not selected randomly. So it is non-random sampling. Instead, here selection depends upon various factors such as convenience of the researcher, purpose of the research, researcher judgment, referral from the patient or from the predetermined or predefined quotas. Since everyone in the population does not have a known chance of being selected, these methods have higher risk of selection bias. So, because of this, the findings cannot always be generalized to the entire population, but these methods are extremely useful in situations where probability sampling is difficult, expensive, or even impossible, especially they are used in the qualitative research. So, here the types of sampling under non probability sampling are as follows: convenience sampling, purposive sampling, snowball sampling, and then quota sampling. So let's begin with the simplest non-probability sampling, which is convenience sampling. As the name suggests, participants are selected simply because they are easy to access. So here patients are selected at the convenience of the researcher, and researchers select participants based on their easy accessibility and proximity. Limited attempt is made to show that sample is an accurate representation of population, but this methods is used while the researcher is doing the pilot study. The biggest advantage of convenient sampling is it is fast, it is inexpensive, and easy to conduct. However, it also has major limitation since participants are chosen based on convenience. The sample may not represent the entire population. As a result, selection bias, sampling bias is possible, and the findings cannot be generalized confidently. Let's understand this sampling with an example. Suppose a researcher wants to study the prevalence of stress among the medical students. Instead of preparing a list of all the medical students and selecting them randomly, the researcher simply visits the medical college library between 2 p.m. and 4 p.m. Students who are present in the library during that time are approached. Those who agree to participate are included in the study. The researcher continues until the required sample size is reached. Why is now this a convenient sampling? Because participants are selected only because they are easy to access. No random selection is used. Students studying in classrooms, hostels, or outside the library have no chance of being selected. That's why this is a non probability sampling method. Next is the purposive sampling. This sampling is also known as judgmental sampling. Unlike convenience sampling, here researcher intentionally selects participants who have some specific characteristics relevant to the research question. Based on specific characteristics, knowledge or expertise relevant to the study purpose, and those who provide valuable in-depth information. And this is commonly used in qualitative research where the goal is to obtain a deep understanding of a specific phenomena. Merits here are targeted and relevant data is obtained. It is cost effective and time efficient, and it is ideal for specific type of research. demerits here are there is a higher risk of bias and limited generalizability. Let's take an example. Suppose a researcher wants to explore the experiences of older adults living with depression. The researcher does not randomly select older adults from the community. Instead, only adults aged 60 years or above who have already been diagnosed with depression are selected from a geriatric psychiatric clinic. These participants are chosen because they can provide detailed information about living with depression in old age, as they have the first hand experience of the condition being studied. So, this is purposive sampling because participants are selected deliberately based on specific characteristic and not randomly. Now, let's discuss snowball sampling. This is a very interesting sampling technique. It is mainly used when the target population is hidden or difficult to reach. So, in this technique, existing study subjects recruit future subjects from among their acquaintances or from among their known. Examples include injection drug users, commercial sex workers, undocumented migrants, or people living with HIV in certain settings. So, in this method, the researcher first identifies a few participants. After interviewing them, each participant is asked to refer other people they know who meet the study criteria, and then those participants are asked, and in the same way the sampling goes on. The sample gradually grows just like a snowball rolling down a hill, becoming bigger. So that's why it is also known as snowball sampling. The biggest advantage is that it allows the researcher to access population that are otherwise very difficult to access. That is the hidden population. It is cost and time efficient, and the researcher also gets the rich and targeted data. However, because participants recruit people from their own social networks, there is a high risk of sampling bias. There may also be confidentiality concerns. Let's understand with an example. Suppose researcher wants to study the risk factors for HIV among people who inject the drugs. Initially, the researcher identifies 5 known injection drug users through a de-addiction centers. After each interview, participants are asked whether they know other people who inject drugs and might be willing to participate. Those newly recruited participants then refer additional people. This process continues until the desired sample size is achieved. Notice that researcher is not directly finding every participant. Instead, participants themselves recruit other participants, and this chain referral process is the hallmark of snowball sampling. So, there are 3 common types of snowball sampling. First is linear snowball sampling. Here, one participant refer only one more person, and the sample grows like a straight line. So, this is linear snowball sampling. Other type is the exponential non-discriminative snowball sampling. Here, an initial participant refers multiple people, and every person the initial participant with referred is included in the study. So, this leads to a rapid exponential growth of the sample, and thus this approach is much faster. Coming to exponential discriminative snowball sampling, it is similar to the non discriminative method, but this approach involves participants referring multiple people. However, researcher takes an additional step by screening these referrals and only selecting those who meet specific predefined criteria. So, this is exponential discriminative snowball sampling. So remember, linear means 1 to 1. Exponential non-discriminative means everyone referred is included. Exponential discriminative means referrals are screened before being selected. Now let's move to the last sampling method in this section, which is the quota sampling. Quota sampling is somewhat similar to stratified sampling because the population is first divided into different groups such as age, gender, or occupation. However, there is one important difference. In stratified sampling, participants within each stratum are selected randomly, but in quota sampling, participants are selected non randomly, usually based on the convenience until the required number or quota for each group is achieved. So, the merits are it ensures that all important subgroups are represented in the sample. It is quick as well as inexpensive as it does not require random sampling or complete sampling frame. However, since participants are not selected randomly, selection bias is still a problem and findings cannot be generalized confidently to the entire population due to lack of probability sampling. Let's understand the quota sampling with a simple example. Suppose a researcher wants to assess the prevalence of anxiety among college going students. Researcher wants a sample of 200 students. Based on the college population, the researcher decides that sample should include 100 males and 100 females. The researcher then visits different colleges and recruits students who are readily available. Recruitment continues until exactly 100 males and 100 females have been enrolled. Once these quotas are completed, participant recruitment stops. So, why is this quota sampling? Because the researcher fixed the number of participants. There was predetermined sample quotas from each subgroup beforehand, and within each subgroup students were selected based on availability rather than random sampling. That makes this a non probability sampling methods. So with this we have completed all the major sampling techniques under non probability sampling used in research. So let's quickly revise them. Under probability sampling, in previous video we studied simple random sampling, systematic sampling, stratified sampling, cluster sampling, multi-stage sampling, multi-phase sampling, and lot quality assurance sampling. Under non-probability sampling, in this video we covered convenience sampling, purposive sampling, snowball sampling, and quota sampling. So now that we have understood how participants are selected, the next important question is how many participants should we actually include in our study? That's exactly what we will learn in the next section, where we will discuss the factors affecting sample size estimation and calculation of sample size. Thank you so much for watching this video. If you found this explanation helpful, don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and share it with your friends who are preparing for MPH, community medicine, nursing, or any research related examination. See you in the next part.